Good morning, UUSS. Please join this morning in singing 1003, Where Do We Come From? After we sing it all together, we'll sing it in round each section, singing a line one after the other. Please look to all of us up here to guide you through those sequences. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? This girl, where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from?
Good morning. What a wonderful way to start our service all singing together. Welcome to our Sunday service. I'm Courtney O'Neill. I'm happy to serve as your worship associate today. Whether you are here in person or participating online, we are so glad that you're here. Reverend Rogers' sermon is entitled Pluralism, a Pilgrimage of Curiosity. The mission of our congregation says, we come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world. Toward this end, we honor the Nishanan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples for their enduring commitment to this land where UUSS exists. They have never left nor ceased to care for this land. If you're on Zoom today, make sure to click on the link in the chat to review the order of service. It's also on the back table where you can find the blue sheet. Who's got a blue sheet? There we are, yes. A blue sheet with our upcoming activities. Each week, the blue sheet and our weekly message serve as a guide to our various programs. After the service in the Welcome Hall, you can fill out a newcomer's form to receive our weekly message email on Fridays. You can also do this online. If you are on Zoom, stay after the service to chat in breakout rooms to get to know one another for 22 minutes. Here in person, we will have coffee, tea, and opportunities for conversation, so please hang around. And in the spirit of hospitality, I hope that you take the opportunity to introduce yourself to someone you don't know, or to greet someone you have not seen in a while. Speaking of hospitality, we are so thrilled to welcome our musical guests today, the Sacramento Master Singers. Yay. Their director is Dr. Ralph Hughes, and their pianist is Heidi van Regenmorter. Two of their songs today were composed by singers who are also a part of our congregation, Connor Manion and Lisa Bunker. Yay! You can read program notes about the songs in the order of service. The Master Singers hold their weekly rehearsals here at UUSS and recently held their 40th anniversary concert. Welcome. Now, a few things to highlight from the blue sheet. Next Sunday after the service is our monthly newcomers orientation with a tour of the campus. It will start at 11:45 and it will end by 1. All are welcome, and childcare will continue after the service if anyone should need it. If you are a voting member of UUSS, please mark your calendar for the congregational meeting. It will happen right after the service, 2 weeks from today, on May 19th. Whether you're in person or on Zoom, we will need a quorum of members to approve the budget and elect our new lay leaders. And speaking of elections, if you are a nominee for a position this year, could you please rise as you are able? Or if you are on Zoom, please type your name into the Zoom chat so that we can recognize you. Thank you. We can meet many of these nominees after our services, and we can read about all of them in the posters that have been prepared by the nominating committee. After the service today, stop by the table on the patio for our all-ages camp. It is a fun tradition happening in late June. There are still tent and RV spaces, but the dorms and the rooms are filling up. So please stop by the table if you're interested or visit the website. And now, take a moment to turn off your alarms and silence your cell phones, beepers, pagers, watches, and any of the above that can beep, so that we can all be present for the service. While you do that, I'd like to invite Christiana Quick Cleveland up for a special announcement.
Good morning. The People of Color Caucus is a new informal group that is primarily a social group for folks who self-identify as persons of color or have a mixed racial background. So we're on track to becoming an official UUSS group under the Program Council later this month. And it's our hope that we can create a mini community of support for folks with a common societal experience, providing a comfortable landing place nestled within the greater UUSS community. So toward that end, we'll be gathering today on the patio after the service with light refreshments, and we'd love for you to stop by and introduce yourselves. So if you're online, you can reach us at multi@uuss.org. Thank you.
As the Master Singers come forward to sing to us, please feel free to come forward and fill out a card for our time of joys and sorrows, or simply just to let the ministers know of any news you wish to share.
Good morning. And good morning, Master Singers, and thank you very much for being here again, and thank you for blessing our spaces here at UUSS every night that you rehearse here. Our chalice lighter this morning is Fletcher. Around the country and in many parts of the world, Unitarian Universalist congregations begin services and small group meetings with the lighting of a flame held in a vessel crafted in the form of a chalice. Please join me in our words this morning by responding with the words in bold. On this new morning, we bring together our individual experiences, our distinctive gifts, and our diverse needs. Coming from near and far, in person and online, we gather as one community. Let us kindle this flame, the symbol of our shared search for truth and understanding. In times of confusion or uncertainty, may its fire bring us curiosity, courage, and commitment. In times of celebration, may its brightness reflect our gratitude and our love. In times of change, let its light remind us to illuminate our mission as a congregation. We come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world.
With our chalice lit, we now invite all those involved in senior high youth group and soul kids to continue to deepen their lives and be a force for healing in the world as we guide you out singing your song. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too, but here I am, right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other one. One foot, lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other one. One foot, and lead with love.
Good morning. I invite all of us now to take a deep breath, however feels good to you, and arrive here into this worshipful space, into the contemplative part of our service. I'm going to do another one. Today I have joys and sorrows to share from our community. Denise shares that Jill, her dog, is turning 16 years old this week. We nearly lost her a month ago, but she is doing well now. I hope to have her for another year. Alicia Taylor shares the joy that she's been accepted in the Masters in Higher Education Leadership program at Sac State. She's starting in the fall. Congratulations, Alicia. Sarah Hefner shares the joy of finally having the trust and courage to find a babysitter to watch our son so that my husband and I can have a much-needed date night. We have no family nearby, and so it is tough. Amen. Tate shares the joy to be here today with family. Glad to have you. Inga shares, my cousin has started a remarkable journey. They will light up the world. I also bring sorrows and requests for prayers from others in our community. I share that Joanne England recently fell and broke her arm. We hold her in our hearts today. And I also share that Sarah Patton has a bad flu and respiratory illness and secondary infections. She asks for prayers and good energy from all of us as she's in the 3rd week of this serious illness. We hold all those in our hearts who carry sorrows too tender yet to share and joys too big to write on a card. And for all of those in-between things that aren't yet able to be articulated, we hold those too. We're so lucky to be in collaboration with the divine every day in our lives. And in honor of that, I wanted to share this prayer of co-creation by Lynn Cox. Will you join me in a spirit of meditation, contemplation, or prayer? Creative Spirit, source of life and love, we give thanks for the beauty of this day and for the company of those assembled here. Thank you for the breezes of change, clearing our heads and bringing fresh ideas. May they cleanse our minds of the oppressions and isms that divide us. Thank you for the flame of hope, the heat of righteous anger, the warmth of compassion, and the fire of commitment. May they bubble in the cauldrons of transformation. Thank you for oceans of love, rivers of connection, tears of relief, and pools of serenity. May healing waters flow over us and through us and among us, wearing down the sharp rocks of despair to bring joy in the morning. Thank you for the good earth beneath us, around us and within us. May we take this clay and co-create a new realm of justice and beauty. Thank you for all these and more. We accept our gifts and commit to building, sculpting, painting, singing, and dancing them to life, to abundant life. So be it. Blessed be. Amen. Let's have a moment of silence. Blessed be.
Our soloist today is Mary.
There is something about you that gentles my mind. From time to time each day I find myself once more with you in reverie. Seconds, minutes, hours, days and weeks and months and years. There is something. There is something. There's something about you. There's something about you. There's something that gentles my mind. That gentles my mind. From time to time each day I find myself once more with you in reverie. In reverie. There is something about you. There's something that beguiles my heart. That beguiles my existed, it can never die. There is something about you that enraptures my soul.
I'd like to share with you a story from a couple summers ago when my husband Michael and I were trying to figure out how to keep our kids occupied while they were on summer vacation. One of the many activities that we ended up enrolling them in was a week-long church camp. Now, aside from attending UUSS, I wouldn't say that our kids have all that much religious structure. We encourage mindfulness, and all three of our kids, to some extent, try to practice quiet breathing and maybe even a little guided meditation. But nothing like that is going to prepare your kids for the culture at your average non-denominational evangelical Christian church camp. So here's how that week went. On Monday, the kids got home, and we asked them about their first day. My daughter Rebecca told us, somewhat darkly, there was a lot of praying. A lot. We told her, be respectful when people pray, but you don't have to pray if you don't want to. And she went on to tell us, oh, I didn't pray. In fact, I made sure everyone around me knew that we are all free not to pray. Michael and I tried to explain that there is a middle ground between participating in prayer and igniting a revolution. But this concept seemed to go over her head. A couple of days later, I asked my son Charlie how he was enjoying the camp. He said, oh, it's super fun. The theme of this camp is called The Great Mystery, and every day we get another clue, and at the end of the week, we will get to solve the great mystery. So I said, well, what are the clues you've gotten so far? And he said, well, the first clue on the first day was ask. I go, okay. The second clue on the second day was seek. And he goes, I don't even know what it's gonna be on the third day. And I said, I bet it's gonna be knock. He didn't know I have gone to my own share of church camps. He promised to keep me updated on the final clues to solving the great mystery. And later that same day, I asked our son Jack how he was enjoying church camp. His response to us was, it's fun. There's obstacle courses and there's popsicles. On the last day of camp, Michael picked up our kids. Throughout the week, despite the rocky start, Rebecca had somehow managed to balance having an active resistance to organized prayer with a willingness to socialize, and she had made some quiet, revolutionary friends. Jack had been declared the obstacle course champion. And Charlie, well, Charlie had been looking forward to finding out the answer to the great mystery all week. And he was a bit confused to find out that the answer was that Jesus was in his heart. For those of you who may never have met Charlie, let me just explain. Charlie is a very literal person. And when he found out that the answer to the great mystery was that Jesus was in his heart, he spent a lot of time lecturing anybody near him about the physical impossibility of another person living in your literal heart and the medical complications that this would cause. As I said, this was our kids' first experience in a religious culture that was different from our own. And their reactions were all specific to each of them and their own life experiences up to that point. And in retrospect, it was actually a great way to introduce them to the bigger concept of religious pluralism, which, according to Wikipedia, is the harmonious coexistence between adherents of different religions. UUSS is the church community that best fits our family, but it's also important to us that our kids are introduced to other religions, as well as different races and cultures, different social and political beliefs. Their week-long experience at church camp is a fun story, but it's also an experience in learning to connect with people that see the world differently. It was teaching them to put themselves in unfamiliar situations that cause discomfort, anger, disappointment, rebellion. We didn't think about all of those things when we originally enrolled them in this camp, but years later, it's one of my main takeaways. I also think about how, as an adult, how often do I open myself up to those kinds of unfamiliar situations? How often do I hold space for other opinions or perspectives or beliefs that might cause me some discomfort? Because pluralism is great when we think about embracing diversity and multiculturalism, but pluralism also involves embracing our own discomfort when we find ourselves in situations we've never experienced. The church camp experience is a defining one for my family in a variety of ways. It's an entertaining story, but it's also a reminder to me about how important it is that I continue to seek out different perspectives and different beliefs, no matter how uncomfortable it makes me.
In exploring varied creeds, let us declare this is my song, sing 159.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our congregation has a practice of giving away half of every Sunday's offering to an organization that is working to make a difference in the world. This month, May, our community partner is the Sacramento chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. NAMI is dedicated to building better lives for millions of Americans. What started as a small group of families gathered around a kitchen table in 1979 has blossomed into the nation's leading voice on mental health. Our local NAMI chapter is one of more than 600 local affiliates working to raise awareness and provide support and education. Many members of UUSS are active in our local chapter. Thank you for your generosity to UUSS and NAMI, our community partner. This morning's offering will now be given and received.
The song we
As the ushers bring forward the baskets, please join me in speaking our words of response to the offering. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits.
Thank you for all those songs. A few months ago, I picked up the telephone and heard a young woman's voice. "Hello," she said. "I'm a Muslim, and I would like to convert to Christianity. Can I join your church?" First, I asked a few questions. And then I said, "Well, you're welcome to visit us and see if you like it. However, we don't expect you to change your faith to join us. That would be up to you. There's a variety of religious perspectives here and a range of spiritual practices. We have some people who identify as Christian and some who are Muslim. We have some Buddhists and atheists too. If you'd like to check us out, I'd be happy to meet you." I encouraged her to think about it. I said, "Then if you still want to become a Christian, I'd be happy to introduce you to some Christian ministers who could talk to you about their process for doing so." So far as I know, she hasn't visited or called us back, but I hope she has continued her search and I hope she has found what she needs. In my responses to her, I was trying to explain that in this congregation, pluralism is a value that we try to practice. Pluralism is on the list of 6 shared values which are proposed for a revision of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. This will be the first big revision since the Unitarian Universalist principles were adopted 40 years ago. Delegates from congregations, including this one, will vote on the document at our General Assembly next month. The text to accompany the value of pluralism states, quote, "We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect." End of quotation. As my colleague, the Reverend Heather Janulis, has written, this value recognizes the profound differences between people. It encourages us to see these differences as opportunities to learn and grow. In one sense, this is a challenge to live out our values with more intention. At the same time, I think it celebrates how much the UU movement has changed in the past half-century. In a community, pluralism is not a steady state, but a process. It is an ongoing pilgrimage. Across our 1,000 UU congregations, we now have many UU pagans, Buddhists, and Christians, as well as humanists. Jewish Unitarian Universalists embrace the holidays and rituals of their Jewish heritage. In the last 15 years, a number of people who identify as Hindus and Muslims have started coming to UU congregations. Now, we've always had members from Hindu, Muslim, and Christian backgrounds who no longer practice their faith, and they would join us. But what we've been seeing are new Unitarians who bring their faith along. Some of them have gone to seminary to become UU ministers. They minister to congregations, they serve in hospital and military chaplaincies, and they lead community organizations. There's a growing religious diversity in our ministry. A few years ago in this pulpit, we met the Reverend Eileen Core Tompkins Gillespie, a young woman who told us how she became a member of the Sikh faith while remaining a UU minister. While she was here, on Saturday night, I met her at the Sikh Gurdwara in West Sacramento. She guided me through worship and chanted in the Punjabi language with our hosts. We stayed for dinner at their free vegetarian buffet. My seminary friend, the Reverend Abhi Janamanchi, has preached here twice. He serves a large UU congregation in Bethesda, Maryland. A native of southern India, Abhi is a Unitarian Universalist Hindu, but he notes he is a Hindu first. The United States of America has been called a melting pot for a long time. The idea is that no matter one's ethnicity, no matter what other country or culture that our family came from, American culture melted us down into one unified community. Out of many, one, says the Latin motto on U.S. coins. Yet the apparent unity of the melting pot has really been a reflection of our dominant culture, white culture. This unity has neglected some distinctions which many people have cherished as a part of their identity. An alternative image to the melting pot is a bowl of tossed salad. While there might be more lettuce than anything else in the bowl, you can still see the other ingredients. In a salad bowl, we can appreciate the textures, colors, and shapes that add to the overall appeal. This is what pluralism is. The value of pluralism says, let us not gloss over the many unique ones who make up the many. Let us not dismiss what other people care about. Let us practice respect and curiosity. But wait, you might say, doesn't that religion repress people, or this one? Are you saying that we should accept every belief and every attitude? I'm not. I'm saying that it's a mistake to assume that we know the values that a person holds simply by looking at their religious identity. For example, some people might say that atheists have no motivation to help others. Without God, people have no ethics or morals, they say. Just look at Stalin and the other atheists who led the Soviet Union, or Chairman Mao in China. Dismissive attitudes like this one need a dose of humility and curiosity. In the same vein, some people have criticized Unitarian Universalists as wishy-washy because of the diversity of our beliefs. They say we're afraid to make a commitment. Please don't tell that to our volunteers. They might not work so hard. In Unitarian Universalist congregations, it's true that we are not held together by a uniform set of beliefs like a creed. We emphasize deeds over creeds. What motivates our deeds is a set of shared values. That is what holds us together. What calls us forward is our stated mission as a congregation. If someone comes here because they want to promote these values and pursue this mission, they are welcome. Pluralism doesn't say that all religions are the same. There's a great variety among them. Pluralism inspires us to learn about this variety. However, a congregation is not a school of religious studies. It's not possible for us to teach and learn everything about every religion. Of course, here we do learn a number of things about religious traditions, but the most important things we learn, most important things we can learn are humility, curiosity, and respect. We can be curious about beliefs with which we're not familiar. Moreover, we can try to be curious about our own assumptions. For example, I might ask myself, how am I reacting right now? Where does my discomfort come from? Is this a reasonable attitude for me to have? Curiosity helps us to grow because it helps us to learn about ourselves. To practice pluralism, it's important to be curious about the culture that we inherit and learn and participate in. Earlier in Courtney's message, she talked about providing some experiences of pluralism to her children. Then she said this: I also think about, as an adult, how often do I open myself up to unfamiliar situations? How often do I hold space for other opinions, perspectives, and beliefs that might cause me discomfort? Perhaps this would be a good measure of any value that we are going to claim as one of the top 6 of our denomination. Could it sometimes make us uncomfortable to live by it? If it's easy to do, why put it in writing? There's an old joke that says Unitarian Universalists are not good at singing hymns because we're always distracted by the next verse. We read ahead to see if there's anything there we will object to. If that was ever true, it is less likely now because our hymnals wait on a cart outside those doors. The verses are projected on the screen, only one verse at a time, so it's hard to read ahead. But if you do want to read ahead, feel free to stop by the cart anytime on your way in and grab the hymnals. If you come to church here, it is likely that our services will contain some things you like and other aspects you'd rather do without. This could be, for example, the words of hymns, or the prayer you heard on one morning, or the musical styles, sermon topics, joys and sorrows, or the length or shortness of our silent reflection. I want you to know that whatever might annoy you could be the very thing that someone else needs to get them through their week. And some feature of life at UUSS that warms your heart might leave another person cold. In recognition of these diverse needs, our gathering together is an act of generosity and hospitality toward one another. To be sure, many people come to Unitarian Universalism after feeling burned in a former tradition. It might have been repressive, hurt them, betrayed their trust. Because of this, it is understandable that some aspects of life in a UU congregation could provoke strong feelings. The value of pluralism calls us to show a gentle openness to one another's experiences. When I have stayed in the homes of people while traveling in other countries, it's been interesting to see how they do things differently, how they cook food and store it, what hangs on the walls, where people sleep, how they eat. It's not always comfortable to experience these differences, but I try to remain open. Having done that helps me to consider the experiences of people from other places or cultures when they visit my home. It also causes me to consider the experiences of people who visit our congregations. I have a story about the First Unitarian Society of Chicago. That big stone church in a Gothic architectural style blends in with the nearby University of Chicago campus. Among other high points in the church's history, in the late 1950s, its music director began a children's choir to attract families. And this grew into the Chicago Children's Choir, which is now a separate not-for-profit organization which serves 3,000 youth around the city in various neighborhoods and schools. First Unitarian is also known for having generated several African American leaders in our denomination, including ministers. This goal took intention, effort, and patience. In 1984, its all-white membership voted on a resolution to affirm its openness. It said, "We take it upon ourselves to invite our friends of other races and colors who are interested in Unitarianism to join our church and participate in all our activities. That might sound rather mild, but in 1948, it was bold. The church's current website informs us that there had been considerable opposition to that resolution. It passed, but they took 2 decades to make progress on their vision. Much later, on a Sunday morning in 1993, before I had entered seminary, I gave a guest sermon climbing up into their towering pulpit. I was there on behalf of a denominational program created to encourage openness and inclusiveness when churches were selecting a new minister. In the sermon, I mentioned that I was a gay Unitarian Universalist considering the ministry. It was a forgettable sermon, I'm sure. In coffee hour, a white woman approached me. She did not introduce herself. She did not thank me for coming. She rebuked me for coming out in the pulpit. She did not ask about my purpose in doing so or express curiosity of any kind, nor did she disclose having any feelings of discomfort or confusion about it. She just snarled. In what I would later learn was a Swiss-French accent, she said, "We don't need to know that." That reaction seems to fall short of the value statement about pluralism. We embrace differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. To me, that encounter shows why we must be clear about what our values mean. Later on, while telling a friend from that church about my conversation with that woman, I found out that her husband was a beloved professor of Unitarian and Universalist history at the theological school that I would be attending. And he was beloved. He died in the late 1990s. As a devoted UU scholar, he could have told her so much about the values of reason, freedom, tolerance, and pluralism in our movement's history. That's what he later taught me about. I learned about the pluralism lived by the Unitarians in Transylvania in the 1500s, and the courage of English, Welsh, and Scottish nonconformists in the 1700s, and the deep souls and wide visions of the American transcendentalists in the 1800s. Maybe he had told her about all that, and she didn't care. Perhaps she didn't come to church to learn or grow or practice curiosity, only for the architecture and the glorious pipe organ they had. While her words had stung me, I was already a committed UU. However, I wonder how many newcomers to the church might have been hurt by that kind of behavior, so hurt that they gave up hope that it might become a home for them. In a congregation, the value of pluralism means that we do not ask someone to leave a part of who they are at the door. Rather than reacting abruptly to something unexpected, we can be curious. We can start with curiosity about ourselves. The practice of pluralism includes hospitality, intentional hospitality. Let's consider 2 things pretty commonly found in a church: coffee and food. Long gone are the days when we assumed everybody would consume the same thing, take it or leave it. Here at UUSS, we try to be flexible. For coffee hour, our volunteers provide regular coffee, decaf, a choice of teas, sugar and sugar substitutes, and 4 kinds of creamer. I happen to know that we also have a stash of hot chocolate. When we put on a dinner, volunteers provide options that might appeal to vegetarians, vegans, meat eaters, and people who eat gluten-free. The food is often labeled so you know what category it falls into. I am grateful for all of this. While this may not seem like a big deal, getting to this level of hospitality took intention and lots of effort. It called for openness and care. Surely new things will appear which we haven't covered. Surely we will make mistakes. That's part of being in a community. Yet we strive to respond with openness and care. I think our approach to coffee hospitality and church dinners could provide examples for practicing hospitality in other ways around here and in our own individual encounters here or outside of here. We recognize there are differences and we want to learn about them. We are open to considering our assumptions and we try to respond instead of reacting. Pluralism is not a steady state, it's a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is a journey you choose to make. It's a journey of attention and curiosity, of openness to surprises, and even of acceptance of discomfort along the way. A pilgrimage can be done solo, alone, or alongside others, together. Let's do it together. On this journey, let us embrace our differences and our commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. So may it be. Blessed be. And amen.
Seeking those tenets, let's awaken our senses to those possibilities and sing 298. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, please join me in speaking our shared intention. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the day to come.
I invite you to reach out to us as we reach out to you. And if you're at home, reach out to us and we respond reaching out to you. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, singers. Thank you all for being here. May you depart in peace and be led forth in joy. And for all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. And for all who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step, one day at a time. Blessed be.